Hello, 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 everyone. Good morning. It's Cassandra Williamson with Transgender and Diverse Veterans of America Action Group, Inc. And as I said, this is the Action Group. That's where we're speaking from today. And welcome, welcome. It's a beautiful day down here in Northport or near Tuscaloosa, Alabama, or the University of Alabama campus near there. And so it's a beautiful, beautiful day, but we've got a lot of challenges to talk about. And I did take off these highly reflective glasses again. Let me see if I can put my other ones on, see if they're a little less reflective. Yeah, that's a little bit better. So anyway, I need them to see. So it's been really interesting couple of weeks now since we discovered and had someone pointed out to us that the Heritage Foundation had put out a Project 2025, a mandate for leadership. And I have yet to make it past the forward of that darn thing. It's such a horrendous document and such a horrendous statement. It's so far against everything that we think of as being the definition of what our democratic republic is all about, the freedoms and the liberties and the pursuit for happiness and all those kind of things that are ingrained into who we are in this great nation that we live in, the great nation that we've served and we swore to uphold the Constitution of. Well, what they put in that forward to that document, it goes against all of that. I don't see how they don't see that, because there's some very smart people over there. They've got more degrees than I've got, for sure. And they certainly are well-educated and well-funded. Oh, my gosh. It's just horrendous. And by now, you should have received my newsletter, or actually a little opinion piece that I put out for everybody for this morning, talking about the Heritage Foundation and its programs and activities and things like that. So anyway, we'll delve into that in just a little bit. I got to get my throat cleared up here. Hold on a second. Sorry. So anyway, it's been a really interesting couple of days, I guess, reading through this stuff and finding reactions and responses to it, and the lack of response from the whole minority community. I haven't seen very many responses from this side of the American culture, diversity side of American culture and American life. I haven't seen too many people responding from our side. And I kind of addressed that in the letter, in the newsletter. If you didn't see it, check it out. Let me know, sign up, go on the website, sign up so that we can make sure you get a copy. And I'm asking people to sign up. I don't care if you agree with us or not. Sign up so you'll know what we're doing, okay? And sign up and so you'll know what we mean when we say that these organizations are going after us. Literally, without question, they stated explicitly, and they're trying to erase and delete and excise us from the whole of the public square, okay? Any acknowledgement of the things that make us unique and individuals, they are working overtime to actually destroy it and wipe it out. So if they win, if a conservative person wins the presidency in November of 2024 here in the United States, then at noon Eastern time on January the 20th, when that person raises their right hand and says, "So help me God," well, the Heritage Foundation and Dr. Roberts and all of those 70 organizations that have worked together to make all that happen and came together like in April of 2022 and started producing this stuff and set aside $22 million to make it happen. $22 million. You find it in the article that we published. It's there. But they all came together for that, and the sole purpose, as stated explicitly in the forward of that darn thing, erase, delete, excise. All those, I'm putting all this together. It's come from a couple of paragraphs. I think maybe the first 2 or 3 paragraphs in the forward, erase, delete, excise. And then and who do they want to do all that to? Those unreal and unnatural people. All those people who aren't protected by the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Their words, not mine, their words, period. Their words. If that doesn't get you ignited and on fire for this, to stand up and fight against this kind of thing. This is a struggle for our rights to life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. And they have taken it on in spades to attack us and remove us from the whole of the federal government, everything from all policies and documents, rules, regulations, and laws, and every darn thing, whatever they have, whatever the federal government produces across all of its agencies, including the Veterans Administration, including anything that has to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion. You know, the Center for Minority Veterans in the VA, they don't want you around. You know, the LGBT teams within the VA, the Veterans Administration, they don't want you around either. They don't even want to see those words show up in anything that is produced by the federal government. That's clearly stated in Project 2025. Now, why is it such a big deal? Well, the Heritage Foundation is the largest and most well-funded conservative organization in this nation. By how much? Well, nonprofits, if they've been around for more than a year or so, they have to file what's called a 990 form with the IRS. All right. So on the 990 form for Heritage Foundation, $265 million after expenses were taken out in 2022. That's their budget. That's their money that they have ready to use to go after anything and anyone who disagrees with them. And boy, they are sure doing it. And they took 22 million of that and brought together other organizations like Alliance Defending Freedom, America First Legal, a whole bunch of other extreme organizations out there that just want, I don't know. I think they really took to heart Ben Franklin's statement back in when was it, 1754, when he wrote something when he was in Albany, New York. He wrote a little thing, an opinion piece, and he says, why, and this is me paraphrasing it a little bit, but he said, this is what Franklin said, okay? Me paraphrasing it slightly. He said, why on earth would we allow the plains of America to be darkened by all those of a swarthy complexion? Why would we want people from Mars to look down and see this dark mass sweeping across America? I think the Heritage Foundation is taking that to heart. It sure seems like it. Oh my God, that was Franklin, by the way. If you don't know that. I mean, this is the kind of part of the history that a lot of these people want to erase anyway. They don't want you to think about all that. They don't want you to even know that actually exists. How many of you actually knew that about Franklin? In that letter he wrote in, I think it's 1754. If my memory serves me right, I read a lot about all that stuff. And Dr. Roberts ought to know this. He is a doctor with a degree in history, but I don't know where or what period of time or what line of reasoning or thinking that history major may be in, or history degree, PhD may be in. But I don't know. But I do know this. There's a lot of this history in this country that they are absolutely turning into vanilla whitewash. It seems as if all they want are people across the whole of government, the way to define and address everyone across the whole of government and to talk about people in America. They don't want there to be any kind of individual, unique ways to describe and identify people and how they identify. For instance, sexual orientation, gender identity, the SOGI fields that is used in research to help identify all the social and economic impact of the social determinants of health on a population of minorities. It's real. There is an impact for that. But if you go erase terms like sexual orientation, gender identity from the whole of government, then you can't find out what's causing people to be not well and not whole, because there's a lot of things associated with the definition of wellness for a person and the health and well-being that they're experiencing all around the fact of the social determinants of health. And that's, we've known that for decades, decades, that those things are there. They have an impact. But if you take, and that's one of the terms they want to delete. It's stated they state it directly in the forward. I mean, I think it's like in the first or second paragraph of the forward that Dr. Roberts wrote. And this is just disturbing to me. They want to remove those words from the whole of government. Sexual orientation, gender identity. They want to remove diversity. and equity and inclusion from the whole of government. They want to remove the word abortion and bodily autonomy and gender expressiveness and gender identity and, gender sensitivity and all these kind of things. They want to remove those words from the whole of government and treat us as if we are all the same vanilla white shade of gender and sexuality and identities and all that. They want to erase and delete those things from everything in the federal government. And what do I mean by that? I mean, this is in the legislative or in the executive branch, and any new rule coming out of the House and the Senate. I mean, they really want this stuff to go away. The things that identify us. I mean, it's asinine. It really is. It's just horrible stuff that's coming out of that project. And why is it such a big deal to me? Because they've got the money to make it happen. And because history shows that they can and will make it happen. And what do I mean by that? Well, they started back in the 70s, okay? Back in the 70s, as a small, not well-known organization, but by the time President Reagan took office, they had produced a document that was given to them, and about 60% of their ideas from that document was incorporated into the executive branch of the federal government and into legislation and stuff like that within the first 100 days of Reagan's presidency. 60%. And that plan was nowhere near as well organized and detailed and planned and strategized as Project 2025. Project 2025, they want to be able to say they are setting up academies to train and vet people. They're setting up these programs to be able to vet people and have them ready to step into every part of the executive branch of government on day one at noon on January the 20th of 2025. They have it in their sights to say that if they win that thing and if the conservative president takes over, then that person, whoever that might be, when they raise their right hand and say, "So help me God," at noon Eastern on January the 20th, they're going to be able to hand that new president a document. But here's the thing. Most of the conservatives running for president right now have already seen this document, have already signed off on it, and are ready to do it right now. And here's the thing. You can see it everywhere. You can see the narrative that's coming out across the board and all the stories that are being produced. Things like one's over on the Washington Examiner and other deep conservative sides. You can see what they're doing. I mean, I saw this yesterday morning, Monday morning. I get up and the first thing I see is the Washington Examiner had put together this opinion piece, and it was from the Washington Examiner, not a particular person there, but the whole of the organization, because they say in this article that we in the Washington Examiner, as well as the Heritage Foundation, the Alliance Defending Freedom, America First Legal, and a couple other organizations have come together, and we are starting to talk about this week. What they want to talk about is the impact of D&I programs across academia. Okay. They want to do away with all those things and get rid of it, and they claim it's a big deal and bad problem. It's not. That's a horrendous description of something that is just... In other words, they want to whitewash academia too, and they want to drive out anyone who doesn't look like and feel like and act like and believe like them. So what is that? What is that? How do we describe that? What do we give that a label? If we gave that a label, what they want to do in Project 2025, what would it be? What would that label be? All right, so let's go take a look at something. I'm going to share a screen right now, and I'm going to take a look at something that was written in 2003 by Lawrence Britt. Hold on one second. 2003, Lawrence Britt. Let me pull up my window. And here. All right, so right now you're looking at this article that was written by, it's an op-ed called Fascism Anyone by Lawrence W. Britt. Free Inquiry, all right, volume 23, number 2, spring of 2003. Get the credit out there for what this is. Now, I just want to go down through here and look at some of these things and just see. So what he did was he analyzed all kinds of things around the world that had to do with fascism and how they got there and what the qualifying points were for that. Well, he came up with several, and after distilling all of that, and then these are the things that you can see. And whenever we're reading through these titles and this description, just think for a second. Think for a second about where do we see that today? And would this be an appropriate description for what we see happening now? Okay. All right. So the first part of this is, and let me just see if I can get this to, I'm going to increase the size of it too. Hold on. So you can see it better. Give me 1 second. And so here's what it says. Here's what Lawrence Brent said in 2003. The first thing is powerful and continuing expressions of nationalism. I think that actually probably ought to read ultra nationalism, because I'm a patriot. I do believe in supporting our nation. I've served our nation in an effort to protect the Constitution. So there's a degree of nationalism that I have, but it is not that far right fringe ultra nationalism that we're seeing today. And they describe this as a prominent display of flags and bunting to the ubiquitous lapel pins, fervor of patriotic nationalism, all that stuff. That's fine. I have no issue with that whatsoever. But it's usually coupled with suspicion of things foreign that often border on xenophobia. Okay, let's go on down to the next one. Disdain for the importance of human rights. Well, I don't even need to belabor the point on that one. It says here, just read it out loud. The regimes themselves view human rights as of little value and a hindrance to realizing objectives of the ruling elite. You got $265 million worth of ruling elite. That's a lot. That's more than anything I've ever seen anywhere, okay, on any other organization. Through clever use of propaganda, the population are brought to accept these human rights abuses by marginalizing, even demonizing those being targeted. Wow. That's in that forward to Project 2025, isn't it? Dehumanization of anyone who is different, dehumanization of transgender people, calling them an ideology unworthy of protections of the U.S. Constitution. Check mark. Jeez. All right. So it says, when abuse was egregious, the tactic was to use secrecy, denial, and disinformation. Wow. That's like a whole bunch of check marks right there, right? We see that a lot. Conflating us with all kinds of things that are just not true, but it's an effort to dehumanize us. Next thing, let's see, go on down to number 3. All right, identification of enemies and scapegoats as the unifying cause. If you're listening to anything in the media today that's coming out of any of our more conservative-leaning organizations and media and presidential candidates, what's the first thing they go attacking these days? Transgender people, transgender Americans. Even when those transgender people are veterans, they still go after us because in the effort to dehumanize us, they focus their energy toward us and they get people all riled up about it. Why? Well, because, obviously they want power. Okay, that's a simple thing. That's all it is. Okay, so the most significant common thread among these regimes was the use of scapegoating as a means to divert the people's attention from other problems, to shift the blame of failures and to channel frustration in controlled directions. My God, if you don't see that that's what they're doing right now, they are doing it in spades. In spades. Wow. And I'm going down. Often the regimes, I'm going to blow this up even larger because this is huge. All right. So often the regimes would incite spontaneous acts against the target scapegoats, usually communists, socialists, liberals, Jews, ethnic and racial minorities, traditional national enemies, members of other religions, secularists, homosexuals, and terrorists. Active components of these regimes were inevitably labeled as terrorists and dealt with accordingly. Ta-da! Wow. Jeez. And I don't know how I got 4 right there, but anyway, there's a 4 right there. The supremacy, this is the other point, and it should be down at number 5. I don't know how it got to there. But anyway, the supremacy of the military and avid militarism. Yeah, I mean, I fully support our military, having served in it myself, but also as an American as well. Fully support it. Got no issue with the military, but it's not to the point of excluding or running over any of our diverse peoples in the nation or using it for those purposes. And that's what they want to do, especially when they say we're going to jail those people who even talk about these kind of ideas, or the Constitution doesn't apply to them. Really? I guess where they're headed with that one, huh? Ever seen that before in history? Right. All right. Rampant sexism. Wow. Need I say more? Really? Need I say more? Right. Beyond the simple, I'm just reading this because this was in 2003. And mine is just so appropriate today, right? Beyond the simple fact that the political elite and the national culture were male dominated, right? These regimes inevitably viewed women as second-class citizens. They were adamantly anti-abortion and also homophobic. These attitudes were usually codified in draconian laws that enjoyed strong support by the orthodox religion of the country, thus lending the regime cover for its abuses. Huge red flag on that. If you don't see it, you're blind. Deliberately blind. Okay. Controlled mass media. Now look. This is nothing new. This is nothing new in this nation. Controlled mass media, controlled media, period, has been baked into our DNA from day one. We seem to think today that this is something new, where you have conservatives on one side, they control a bunch of media over there, and the liberals over on the other side control a bunch of media there, and you got the people in between who hoping there's something for them. Well, let me tell you, this is nothing new. It's part of who we are. It's part of our DNA and the U.S. As a matter of fact, if you know something about history, you realize that Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson were at each other's throats in the media. So much so that Washington had to call them down because they were both on his cabinet. Okay. They were both served on President Washington's cabinet, but he had to call them down and tell them to stop because they were creating greater divisions in the country. But Washington was also strongly opposed to a two-party system, but that was inevitably not going to work. That was naive at the time and still would be naive today. And we know that today. But each side has controlled the media, right or wrong. They've controlled the media for their effect and impact. It's not necessarily overtly controlled, but except for Jefferson and Hamilton. I mean, they did control the press about themselves. But unlike today, where we have ideological control, and it's not overt in the sense, or it's not direct in the sense that they tell somebody, hey, you will write this. No, they've got them in their pocket, or their pockets are in, their hands are in the other pockets. I don't know. They've got hands in all their pockets among themselves. And that's true on both sides, by the way. And it's just who we are as a nation. We've been that way. I don't know if any way to actually get back to, well, everybody talks about going back to the 1970s when you had people like Walter Cronkite and different ones who are out there just giving you the information and not saying anything. Look, that's another case of being willfully blind. The people who were doing those shows even then used words and terms that were like dog whistles to certain groups. They did it. They were doing it. That's never stopped. Okay. There is no Pollyannish way of going back to doing something like that, where the media isn't relegated on either side and kind of divisive in that regard. Not going back there. So, but anyway, they've controlled the medias, right? So the right has theirs and the left has theirs. Fine, got it. That's just the way it works. All right. Obsession with national security. Yeah, well, I'm obsessed with national security too. I'll put it that way because I really think the national security is a top priority. But it's inevitably, as it reads here, as Lawrence Brent said, the national security apparatus was under the direct control of the ruling elite. Is that true? Not in this country per se, but they do have the pockets from manufacturing and all the industry that supports it. And typically those industries have a tendency to be over here on the conservative side, not always, but on the conservative side. And so it's a cycle that perpetuates itself. So obsession with national security, yeah, I don't think that one is probably relevant. Too much, to a smaller degree. Okay, religion and ruling elite tied together. Unlike communist regimes, the fascist and proto-fascist regimes were never proclaimed as godless by their opponents. And in fact, most of the regimes attached themselves to the predominant religion of the country and chose to portray themselves as militant defenders of that religion. Well, we can see that, don't we? Anyway, power of corporations is protected. Well, look, in the first 2 or 3 paragraphs when Dr. Roberts was writing the foreword to Project 2025, the first thing, one of the things he does after he gives you this litany of things that he wants to erase, delete, and excise from the whole federal government because these people are unreal and unnatural people, and they associate with all these kind of horrible things that are going on, but that's not an association that's accurate, and we all know that. They know it, they just don't care. All right. Because they're trying to dehumanize us. But right down in that and below that, they say they have no First Amendment protections, that we have no First Amendment protections. But what does that mean? I mean, recently, how long ago did we have a Supreme Court ruling establishing the personhood of corporations, actually defending it? The personhood of corporations. Guess what? They have placed their corporations, the personhood of those corporations, above minorities in the country by telling us that we aren't protected by the First Amendment. They do lump us in there as an ideology, which is a convenient way to group everybody all together, even though I'm not an ideology. I don't know about you. Are you an ideology? I am not an ideology. Conservatism is an ideology. Liberalism is an ideology. Fascism is an ideology. Communism is an ideology. Socialism is an ideology. But being transgender, being a minority, no, those aren't ideologies. We are this way regardless of the ideology that we may personally believe in being. I mean, there are lots of, let me see how we're going to describe this. There are lots of people who have all kinds of different ideologies that they adhere to. One or more or whatever. It could be religious. It could be anything, cultural or whatever. Those are ideologies. That the cultural part, not necessarily. You pull that part back, but the religions and the political ideologies and the nationalism and all those are ideologies. But being a person is not an ideology, and it is demeaning to say such. It is an attempt to dehumanize and to, drive a wedge between that group and everybody else, the ruling elite. And many people are going to tell you that, hey, it's the left that is the ruling elite, or it's the right that's the ruling elite. Well, there are ruling elites on both sides. Okay? Don't get me wrong. They're on both sides. But it's how they use that to go after all the other people in their nation or in their sphere of influence, and to make them all, what do we say, lily white? I don't know any other way to describe it, because it's an attempt to just make all the people. If you take out all the words like sexual orientation, gender identity, gender, abortion, bodily autonomy, you take all those words out, then you end up with this vanilla description of every person in the country, and it does not recognize any of their distinct, uniqueness as individuals. This goes against everything they have even said. It goes against everything that they have believed. This is hypocrisy, what they're doing. I know. Well, let me go on down the screen. Power of labor suppressed or eliminated. Yeah, organized labor seen as the one power center that could challenge the political hegemony of the ruling elite. We know where that is, right? Disdain and suppression of intellectuals and the arts. Wow. Haven't we seen that a lot lately? Here just yesterday in the articles that the Washington Examiner is putting out in collaboration with Heritage and Alliance Defending Freedom and others, going after the intellectual. It's hijacking higher education. Okay, that's what the article was called. I don't know if you can still see my screen. Hijacking the ideological capture of universities. Oh my God. This was, it's just ridiculous. It fits right into that thing about fascism, disdain for intellectuals and the arts. They talk about this as if it's a way to open up free discussion on campuses and have thoughtful exchanges and debates about different ideas and all things like that on campus. Well, that's always been there. I've never in any time that I've been associated with any kind of academic environment has that actually been in question. We've always been able to actually say things and then have those ideas contested and debated. And yeah, there are some who go too far either way, on either the right or the left. We see it dramatically everywhere. Sure, some take it too far. But the ability to discuss things and debate things and ideas and to express ourselves in ways that may be different from someone else has always been in our academic environment, okay? It's always been there. And yeah, there's some guiding principles that university or college may have that establishes them as separate or distinct from somebody else or another organization or another university or whatever. Like, for instance, the one here in Alabama is a little more conservative leaning, but the university itself is probably right in the middle because they allow for that kind of open debate and they aren't trying to shut it down, or at least not yet. They haven't. So there's a lot going on with that kind of statement. Disdain and suppression of intellectuals and the arts. Right. Lump them all in together as one big homogenous group and say, these people are bad. They don't allow us to think any way we want. Well, but then you come along and you go, let's push all those people out and let's move in all the people that think like us. And what are you doing? You're doing exactly the same thing, the thing that you are pushing against. Hillsdale College, the curricula that they've developed, it's being used in several academic, environments or spaces in Oklahoma and down in Florida and wherever they're located, the Hillsdale College and all that. I mean, they have a view, and that's the way they think that everything should be run, and they think they're right, and they're entitled to think that they're right, and they're entitled to believe what they believe, and we defend that right, period. That's just the way it is. But you're replacing what you perceive as being too far left-leaning with your too far right-leaning way of doing things and way of thinking and believing. The way you should do things is have it just make sure that there is a way for people to talk without being criticized for it, way for people to discuss ideas in such a way that they aren't demeaned because of those ideas. And that goes for the left and the right. Now, if you're doing that, if you have a disdain or suppression of intellectuals and the arts happening, regardless of where it's coming from, then guess what? You're wrong. That's not how it's supposed to be. There should be, obviously you're going to have periods of time where you'll have a lot of people who come in and they're one way. They think one way. They believe one way. They've been trained in one way. Then the cycle and the pendulum swings back to the other side and you get everybody who thinks this way. But that's all part of it too. It's just this cyclic expression of ideas that occurs over time. you know. If you look at it in granularly, right, I mean, if you look at it granularly, right, what's happening today in any one institution, then yeah, there may be some ideas that are accepted for debate and all this kind of stuff or pushed out there for conversation. Fine. But there's still a space for people to talk about it. And it'll swing more heavily left or right or middle or whatever over time. It's not, you can't take a snapshot in one period of time and say, this is the thing that's wrong, because you have to know that it's cyclic, okay? Going in a cycle of different activities. And there's just the way intellectual conversations take place, because one side persuades their group of people, or one side persuades a group of people, not their, but a group of people, that they're right. And then it takes predominance for a little while. And then somebody comes in and challenges that and comes up with another perception, and they're able to convince a larger group of people than the other one. And it goes back and forth like that. It's a cyclic event. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the way human intellectualism works. And that's an ideology, but not, not me. All right. Let's go on down to number 12. Obsession with crime and punishment. Yeah. I'm not even going to go there. Police were often glorified and had almost unchecked power, leading to rampant abuse. Normal and political crime were often merged into trumped up criminal charges and sometimes used against political opponents of the regime. Boy, if that's not true. And I know that happens everywhere, but right now the biggest one that's doing it is, okay. Rampant cronyism and corruption. Well, guess what will happen if Project 2025 is implemented? Guess what will happen? If you go in there and strip out and hollow out all the agencies and all these organizations and all these program offices and everybody, any department or whatever within the federal government, the whole of an executive branch of the federal government, you go in there and hollow it out, and you put in the people that you have vetted, that you believe are the right ones for the country from your ideological perspective, the result will be rampant cronyism and corruption. Invariably. We know that. I mean, history proves that. Okay. You take out the people who have actually got experience in doing things and replace them with political appointees across the whole of government, putting them all out on the street from every 4 years or so, or 8 years, and starting all over again. You talk about being a target for our enemies from around the world. Yeah. That confusion and chaos, they love that. They're 100% behind that. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then their claims of fraudulent elections. As we know, there is no proof anywhere for years of fraudulent elections to the level that would have caused an election to be swayed by that abuse of our systems. Yeah, there's some there. Absolutely. Left and right. It's all there. Okay. It's all there. We know that. But in neither case, left or right, has that fraud in the election systems actually had an impact, or would have had an impact, on the outcome of the election. And it was so small, it was statistically insignificant. And it is that way now. But some people will keep ramping up this idea of the election was bad, the election was fraudulent, it was stolen from us, and I won and they didn't win, and stuff like that. That's item number 14, the last in the list of items that have to do with defining what fascism is. And there's a lot of crossover from left and right in these. But which one has the preponderance of these categories filled with multiple check marks? Well, if Project 2025 gets enacted, it will have met every one of those 14 conditions. I'll leave it up to you to put that word out there in front of it. So let me stop sharing this screen and go back to something else now. I need to find you too. Let me find my screen of you. There we are. I see me now. So anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for watching and participating. If you have a comment, please put them over in the comment section. I know that some comments I will not be able to see, but most I will. This show is being broadcast to 2 accounts on Facebook, a LinkedIn account, and 2 accounts on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Well, I think I took Twitch out. Twitter and website. It's on our website too. So you can always find these things there. You can watch us from the website. You can comment on there. But please know that we have got to start coming together. You've got an organization out there that is rolling in money at $265 million from the 2022 IRS report form, the 990 that Heritage put out. So they've got that. What do we got? Nothing. Nothing at all. And we're desperate. I mean, not desperate, like we're disconnected and don't work together. We are our own worst enemy. We really are. We are our own worst enemy because you think you're right. I think I'm right. They think they're right. They think theirs is the only correct way. But they try, all of us, we need to pull it aside, set it aside, come together and fight against it, struggle against what the Heritage Foundation is doing and what the presidential candidates on the conservative side have agreed to, and do something to stop this. Out of the $265 million, they took some of that money and combined it with some other organizations and set $22 million aside to implement Project 2025. And what do they want to do? Just to give you an idea. And yes, I'm railing on this. I'm talking about it a lot. I spent a lot of time thinking about this and figuring out ways to address it, because it is the most existential threat we have ever faced. Now, all the minorities in this country, if you want to be delegitimized, if you want to be stripped away, if your identity wants to be, you want it to be stripped away from the whole of federal government and states, they want that too. They have their fingers in all of it. Then do nothing. Sit back. Pretend this is not a real threat. The Heritage Foundation and Alliance Defending Freedom and American First Legal and 70 of these organizations have millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars to fund their way of thinking and to force it on the rest of the country and remove any distinctions, any differences, any uniqueness, any individuality from the whole of government. And we'll end up looking like, let me see if I can find something here. If I can pull it up. Let me see if I've got it. Share on the screen. I want to go to Windows. Oh, no, hold on a minute. Let me go pull it up in the background. That way I'll have it available. I want to show you. This is what I think. This is what I see. This is me personally. This is what I see happening right now. All right. So let me get to my downloads here. Bots. 7 bots 1. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Oh yeah, there we go. Got it. Okay, give me a second. This is what I see. This is what I see and feel and understand from what they've written so far in this thing. Okay. Is that it? No. Oh, that's it. Here we go. Okay. So right now, I think you can see this screen. Let me make it larger. Let's see. Yeah, there. Boom. Okay, so this is the Heritage Foundation's dream for America. They want to remove all of our distinctions, remove any acknowledgement of our differences and our uniqueness and our individuality, and then just paste in all these things that look just alike, like them. Don't believe it? Go read the article. Go read the book. Don't buy their book. Don't give them any more money, but go look at the PDF. You can find it on our website. So let me go stop share this, and I'm going to take you to the website, and we'll just go look at that too. All right. So let me bring up another screen. I'm going to bring up the website really quickly, just so all of you can see where we are and what we're doing. Okay, here. All right, so present screen and window. I got to find the right one. Oh, there it is. Okay. Tab. All right, so right now you're looking at the website for Transgender Diverse Veterans of America Action Group, TDVA Action Group, and you can see our leaders all there, and myself, I'm over here. That's mine. You can just see what's going on over there. Okay, check it all out. And these are amazing people, all, by the way, and I'm so appreciative of them in the organization as executive leaders over all of this. And then over on the action group side, let me just introduce you to the leaders on there. Give me seconds, and board of directors. Okay. Danny Stubenrod from up in Maine is the chair of this board on this side. However, Danny has taken a step back to take care of some personal stuff. And then Lashika Shine from down Louisiana, over in Louisiana, is the acting chair at this point. She's our vice chair, but she's the acting chair at this point. And then we've got Rachel Reed as a board member, Ash Taylor Austin as another board member, and Brian Blevins from out of New Mexico as a board member over on the action group side of our larger organization. Now, let me go back up to the top of the screen, and this threats, you can click on the Project 2025, and right there you'll see the document that I've been talking about. And just scroll down through this. It's a mandate for leadership, the conservative promise, Project 2025. You can go down this thing and just check it all out, read it for yourself. Don't rely on just what I'm saying or thinking or seeing and talking about, but go read it yourself. You will then see the seriousness and the threat that this poses to identities and individuals and the uniqueness of who we are and diversity in this country. They don't even like the word inclusion, but they want to remove it too. Diversity, equity, inclusion are words that should be erased according to this document. Okay? Don't believe it? Read it. It's there. You can find it on the website. Now, let me go back up to the top of this section here, and let's just go see something here. You can see the live streaming program that we're doing right now. It's there. And then there's recordings from live streaming events too. And about us, you got the mission, and you got the chief medical strategist, who happens to be Dr. Maurice Garcia, Cedars-Sinai in LA. My calendar is on there. You can see what I'm coming up to and going to be doing and things like that. And there's all kinds of it. And a list of state directors. And I've got to update this now. Right now we have, there's several more. I have to add them in here. All right. So those are the three I had initially, well, four. There's Trent Bear from Nebraska. But there's a couple more now. There's 5 more got to add in there. I've got to add a state director for Arkansas and California and South Texas and Utah. So I've got to add in those yet to this list of state directors. And they're responsible for making sure that on the action group side, these are action group state leaders, okay, state directors for us. And their mandate is to build relationships in that state, to grow the organization in that state, to get us to connect with all the media possible in the state, find as many connections as possible with media, broadcast, print, and everything else, and everything, online, all of it. And then also to connect with state leaders and other organizations in the state that are supportive of veterans first, and LGBT veterans and LGBTQ plus people in America. So that's all the things that our state directors are responsible for. So you can go find them on there, and I'll be putting the others into the system a little bit later. IT will take care of that, which right now is me. And then the issues that threaten our existence, that's the Project 2025 from Heritage Foundation, but that should be Heritage Foundation et al. All their other components that are making that happen. Resources. Okay, we got a live news program, which actually I'm going to remove that page because it's the live streaming that's over here now. A live stream library recordings, they're all over on that side now too. But we also have on there a list of our general membership meetings, executive leaders meetings, employment opportunities. If you have a job opening somewhere in the country and you're looking for specific employment, and you support the LGBTQ plus community in this country, or any minority in this country, or even more than that, whatever, it doesn't matter. We'll put employment opportunities out there. The list of VA resources. This is how to contact your congressional leaders. And, you know, you type in your zip code and it can tell you who your congressional leaders are and how to reach out to them. And then here's the interactive resource map, which I think is really amazing. Okay. And I've got a lot more to put on this, a lot more to put on it. So much, there's so much in each state that I've resorted to just putting the state logo in that, and then within that you go to an actual folder of things for the states. Like if I click play on this, and it brings up all of this. You can make it larger to look at it, but you can also go here and enlarge it. Just scroll up and enlarge. But if you go and click on one of these things, it tells you that's the Virginia resource folder, and it will go to this. And hopefully you can still see this. This is a list of resources that are in Virginia, and our state director there, Seed Michaels, they brought all this together, and they didn't create it because it's available from the state, I believe, but they got the resources together and sent them to me, and then we put it in here. So you got a list of resources that are available for LGBT people in the state of Virginia. So if you click on it, it'll bring that up. Virginia Transgender Resource and Referral List. This is for transgender people, apparently, also. But I mean, there's a lot of information there, a lot of organizations across the state. Let's Talk meets at Diversity Richmond. Tells you where, gives you some information on how to contact them. But that's what I want. That's what I want for every state, and all of our state directors need to be doing that too. By the way, try to find a list of resources, get it to me. We'll create a folder that can be accessible. Okay, and that's the idea with that. So I'm going to stop sharing that screen for now and go back to you, amazing people. So first thing, thank you for watching today. We've got a few minutes left. If there's anyone who wants to say anything or whatever, put it over in comments. Let's talk about it. Let's chat about it. This week, primarily what I'm focusing on are the things that have to do with the Heritage Foundation and their Project 2025. That's going to be a major focus for a long time. But we've got to come and stand united against it. If you want to stay up to date with what we're doing, take the time to go sign up on our website, on the TDVA Action Group website. Let me put a banner up there for that. There. So go there to that website, sign up, make sure you're receiving our newsletters. Let us know. We need every voice heard. I don't care if it's a voice that's in opposition to who I am. Because if I go around shutting you out, then you have every right to shut me out, right? But if I go in and say, hey, come here, let's talk, let's chat, let's figure out what's going on, then that's an expectation I can have of you too, right? Anyway, that one would hope. In an ideal world, probably very Pollyannish of me to say that kind of thing. But hey, one can dream, right? All right. So with that, I'm going to close it out for the day and say thank you. Thank you for watching and participating. Come back tomorrow at noon Eastern or 11 Central Time. You can find us on the website under the live broadcast, under the home button. Click on that thing, and tomorrow it'll take you there. It will, you'll be able to find us and talk with us. You can find us on all the social media sites out there that are the bigger ones anyway, like LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. So anyway, you can find us, get involved, do something. And I'm going to put a challenge to you right now. Bring your friends with you. Tell people about this show. Tell people about how important it is that we stand up against the atrocities, the potential atrocities that could come out of Project 2025. All right. Again, this is Cassandra Williamson with TDVA Action Group. and Transgender and Diverse Veterans of America Action Group, Inc. And I'm located down in Alabama, and you can go on the website and get my address if you want to send me something. Okay. If you want to talk, you want to chat, you want to send snail mail, please do. Please do that. Go on the website. You can get all the information you need about how to reach out and contact us. We'd love to hear from you, and that we hope that you have a beautiful and amazing rest of the day. And big hugs to all the people who are minorities in this country. Every single one of you, big hugs always. Please come and join us. If you want to come on stage and go live, let's go talk about a bunch of stuff. Send me an email. Reach out to me. Here's the email address. All right. If you want to join us in studio, you can just send me an email at that address, executive.director@tdva-ag.com, and let us know, because we will certainly love to have you. And that extension, the invitation actually goes out to Dr. Robertson as well. But I don't mind having a conversation with you or with them. Anyway, so have a great day, everyone. And with that,